Useless account was good enough to direct me to this incident involving a misandrist police detective. He said, make a video about Rachel Fletcher. She's a detective constable from United Kingdom and also a rad femme who said a curfew should be introduced only for men. And everybody is defending her. GB News did an interview with her, and he's right. Here's this disgusting video spinning this woman as a victim. And what they do is they ignore the misandry, her attacks against her fellow man, and make it about trans people, right? That's how they do this. But anyway, here's our heroine, right? And she says that she's accused of saying all men were rapists and should be giving a curfew to stop nighttime sex attacks. Now, this parallels perfectly with when racists say black men want to rape our white women. Exact same thing. They're just two forms of bigotry. Just one is directed at race, the other is directed at sex. That's the difference. Now we'll get to the important parts. The panel was today told how Rachel allegedly regularly expressed a hatred for men in front of colleagues. So this is done on the regular. And it's accepted. It's enabled. It got to the point, it got so obvious and so open that the male colleagues, the male police officers finally had to complain. But men are such laydowns, they were willing to take this. No other group of people would take this kind of bigotry in their workplace. But men are such laydowns. Just that this woman just couldn't control herself, right? That's what's going on here. Now, Fletcher, who worked in a safeguarding role, you see that? We have a bigot in the safeguarding, right? Admits to making the curfew comment, but argued it was done in jest and did not amount to misconduct. This is in the racist playbook, right? It was just a joke, bro. Right? You know, my Jew jokes and or I should say, my disgusting comments about other races of people, whether Jews, Hispanics, or whatever, it's just a joke, bro. But nobody accepts it when the racists do it. And so men shouldn't be accepting it when misandrists do it. See, it's just a joke, bro. I mean it, but I don't mean it, but I do mean it, you know. Now, this is why an MRM in England, a workable one, a functional one, needs to be going right now. Because this shows you just how deep the misandry go. The police force is full of feminist bigots. Olivia Dover, acting on behalf of the appropriate authority, opened the case by saying there is no doubt that violence against women and girls is a policing national priority. So what she's just said is that one, men harm women and girls, so she's a bigot, and two, violence against men and boys is not prioritized. We don't care what happens to them. So this woman, Dover, is a bigot. And notice it's Cheka Dover. That's a hyphenated name. It means she's married. So all you guys, all these disgusting feminists, they find partners all the time, don't they? Men will shack up with people who hate their guts. Right? What is that movie title? Sleeping with the Enemy. But the police officer saying that all men should be on a curfew damages trust and confidence. It doesn't say it's bigoted and shouldn't and isn't tolerated in the police force. It doesn't say that. It says simply that what it is, the male police officers might start looking at us female police officers and seeing us as the enemies that we are to them. This is damage control. If a male police officer made a blank statement about a woman, he would be held account to. He'd be fired, that's right. Now, luckily, by the way, this scumbag was fired. They were forced to. Her misandry, her bigotry was too open and too obvious. But it's still there, everyone, by the statement of Dover here. It's still there. It's just that they're saying we can't be out of control with our bigotry, but we want it there. See, the case is about whether the officer said she is denying something. If she did say these things in my submission, they amount to a breach of standards. That's very milquetoast, right? Breach of standards. Giving evidence, PC Kevin Thompson, who worked with Detective Fletcher, told how his colleagues' views and remarks about men made him feel uncomfortable. See, she was too open about it. You're supposed to keep all your misandry on the down low and exercise it, right? The police detectives are supposed to just haul over men and abuse them. That's how you do it. You don't just say it openly in workplace, right? If it was a male officer doing that or saying these things about women, they would be dealt with, right? And again, that's why they were forced to deal with her. This is only a partial win because this one was actually canned, but it's not really a win because it was forced on them. It made the police it made the police look bad, right? They couldn't be too obvious about it. PC Thompson described Detective Fletcher as an outspoken feminist. So he admits that feminists are hate mongers, right? This is what it is. He's admitted it. So they're admitting this, that feminists think like this, and yet they enable them, they support them, they allow them in positions of power. So who is PC Thompson to complain? He also said that Fletcher would regularly say she hated men, sometimes a few times a week. Wow. Wow, this is sad. So in other words, if one of these police women said it only once a month, it'd be okay. This is how sad this is. This is how men are just, people are just willing to have men abused and discriminated against, right? Dang. Because I worked in an open plan office, and I wasn't the only person who heard these things. It was an understanding that was just how Detective Fletcher acted. See, it was just an open secret, everyone. This is just how, boys will be boys. Remember that saying that women use to attack men in their attitudes? That's projection. This is girls will be girls. When it became more frequent, it made me start to feel uncomfortable. See, it had to be frequent because, a woman could occasionally in the workplace say men are scum. That's all right. That's all right with these male laydowns. Holy cow. This is the only reason they actually fired her, right? Detective Hall told the hearing how he witnessed Fletcher make the comment about the curfew for men to another colleague while they were all working at Gateshead police station. She said it openly. She's supposed to say to her fellow girlfriend or female policewoman, off in the bathroom, they all could laugh and joke about how men are scum. But she was too open. So she just came right out and advertised it. They couldn't ignore her. Detective Fletcher was known for a dry sense of humor. He did find the comment offensive. See, she's just a joke, bro. She's just a joke. He's even making excuses for her. It was offensive to me as a male, as it presumes that everyone is capable of rape, right? Knowing Rachel as I do, she's got a very sharp wit. She's very witty. Saying men are rapists, that's so witty. I did think there was a certain amount of tongue in cheek in what she said. Shut your mouth, you lay down. Shut your mouth. It's- Let's see if there's anything else we need to cover before. Oh, right here, right here. In her statement, she said, although Rachel had the right to her views, sometimes she would go too far. So women have the right to say men are rapists when we're not. Women have the right to demonize men, just that she went too far. Right? This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Man, this is pathetic on all levels. Now, I think I covered what we need there. Now you're going to look at this. This is GB, and they're going to interview this woman, and they're going to ignore the misandry, at least in the first 5 minutes. I actually only listened to about 3 minutes of it. Let's hear it.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. A detective constable has been sacked by her police force over a joke.
See, at the time of that article, it was just investigating. So this is what, 3 days old? So she's been sacked recently.
She made about trans people. Rachel Fletcher was...
There you go. It was about trans people. This is a lie. Or at least it leaves out the truth. It's a half-truth. She did make expressions about trans women, not just people. You see, he uses a gender-neutral term. They do that on purpose because the attack on trans people are always attack on trans women, meaning men. But also, he left out all her comments about men.
Reported by male colleagues for using the term cocks in frocks to criticise Northumbria Police's guidelines which permit biological men who identify as women to insist on being strip searched by a female officer.
See, now this is a lie by omission. The male police officers, you think only the male police officers were concerned with the trans issues? Like anyone with a brain who's listening said, what? The female officers weren't concerned with the trans issues? Right, because it wasn't about trans issues. This wasn't a deliberate attack on her fellow male colleagues. And these liars, these GB liars are leaving this out.
She was fired last month, just about 10 days ago or so, after being found guilty of gross misconduct and put on a blacklist where she joins ex-Met police officers Wayne Couzens, who murdered Sarah Everard, and serial rapist David Carrick. Well,
that's good to know. It's good to know that this femme scum is placed where she belongs, with serial killers and murderers. That's where she belongs.
In a broadcast exclusive, Rachel joins me now. Rachel, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
There you go, everyone. You see, some woman, some bigot, spewed hatred towards another group of people, demonized them, and she's going to get her ugly face put on the news. Everyone's going to be there and clap for her and support her. There you have to look at. They're all clapping. No boos or anything.
This is one of the most maddening stories that I've heard or read of.
This is one of the most maddening videos I've ever seen. You disgusting, bald-headed subhuman.
For the last few years. Let's start from the beginning. You were a police officer. You started about 23 years ago or so?
Yes, I started working for Northumbria Police.
Wow, this disgusting bigot was part of the police force. for 23 years. So they let this go for 23 years. How much damage has she done to male civilians as an officer of the law?
As a member of police staff 23 years ago, and then became a police officer in 2009. And then I've always been a constable because that's where you do the most actual police work. The higher you go, the further away you get from actual police work, and it's police work that I like. So
wow, I bet she loved pulling guys over and really harassing them, putting them in cuffs.
I became a detective in 2019 and have been working.
Wow, these bigots, they even get promoted. See, if you're a female bigot, you get promoted. As long as your bigotry is towards the common man.
In safeguarding, so child protection, dealing with all manner of child abuse and neglect. And
there you go. So think of how many fathers out there who are innocent probably got accused of child abuse, arrested for child abuse by this scumbag.
Abuse and neglect of vulnerable people, for example, adults in old people's homes or with mental health difficulties, that kind of thing. So some quite harrowing things.
Yeah.
What do the guys say over and over again? That women, they get in positions where they look after the elderly and children. Women commit the most elderly and child abuse. So how many children and old people got harmed by women because this police detective probably allowed it? Said, oh, a woman's abusing it? Well, we won't bother. She's innocent.
That I've seen.
That's what I was going to say is, you've seen kind of the worst of humanity.
Yes,
frankly.
definitely.
And before we get to...
Well, she does have mirrors at home.
What was specifically said, it's a sort of it's known.
And she's sitting across from you too, dude.
That the police officers, as well as people who work in the ambulance service or and NHS, they have a gallows sense of humour. That's, I imagine, how you survive.
See, it's gallows sense of humor. So when she starts bashing men, it's just a joke, bro.
Definitely, yes, and especially in the department that I worked in, we spent all day, every day, talking about sexual offences and describing the mechanics of them.
Yeah, the sexual offences, saying all men are rapists. That's what she discussed all day long. When are we going to put all these men behind bars? When are we going to strip them of their rights?
Talking about body parts that were used, to commit these offences. And certainly when you interview victims and suspects, you have to talk about those body parts. And you often...
Okay, let's skip past this. I'm going to skim ahead, guys. Okay. Okay. Here's her issue with trans women, of course, because she's worried about them using their identity as female to get away from being abused as men. Let's hear this.
Wrongdoing in 2024, January 2024, but really it started in 2023 when I noticed that the force had adopted self-ID. I found this really concerning, and so I had sent emails.
Self-ID. In other words, a guy could say he's a woman, and all of a sudden he doesn't fit her criteria, her bigotry, right? Her bigoted policy to crack down on men. They just say, no, I'm not a man, right? That's her issue.
Emails to the D&I team to ask how that would work in conjunction with our strategy for tackling violence against women and girls, searching...
See, violence against women and girls is an attack on men. That's what it is. And so she's worried that these trans women are going to get away from it, even though they're a tiny minority of the human population.
Policy and custody, crime recording, and single-sex facilities for staff and officers in our buildings.
Remind people of self-ID. Basically, I could just go, I'm a woman.
Yes.
And that's it for all the purposes now.
Yes.
These right-wing scumbags, they're such female worshippers, right? They always ask that stupid question, what is a woman? I might identify as woman. How can I worship my goddess if a guy can be one? That's what their big worry is. from the male's perspective, right?
Will be treated as a woman.
Yes, and for safeguarding, that's a disaster. People
See, now, they just got to let her get away with demonizing his own sex, right? To safeguarding, that's a disaster because we all know that men want to hurt women and girls, of course.
can identify as whatever they want, of course they can, and it's their right to do so, and it's not for the police to tell them that they can't. However, for policing, it's really important that we stick to facts and evidence, and particularly when we're dealing with crimes that are mainly committed by men, whether we...
This is a lie, of course. What crimes are mainly committed by men? Now, if you know my channel, you know this kind of horseshit's been debunked over and over again. And all you guys who don't want to join an MRM, listen to how this woman and her fellow colleagues get together immediately to work on a political level to get what they want.
Found some like-minded colleagues, and we got together and formed a working group to try and tackle what we saw as a really serious issue in policing.
There you go. Like, she got together with other man-hating women, and they set to work to fight to keep their discrimination and their bigotry going in the police force. See, women, they work together, they show solidarity, and they get to work. All you men listening, take notes. This is how change gets done. None of this MGTOW individualist shit. That's just coward talk.
And that then became Police Scene UK, Scene standing for Sex Equality and Equity Network. Network. And we wanted...
They're not for equality. DEI is not for equality. Kicking men out to put women in the spots, that's discrimination. Remember, it's 1984, right? War is peace.
To tackle this in policing across the UK, because, as I say, policing has to be based on facts and evidence. If we want to protect vulnerable people, we need to be able to identify who those vulnerable people are, which ones are which.
You see, men aren't vulnerable. Only women are vulnerable. And what are they vulnerable against? Not tornadoes, not bear attacks. Only the men in society. Right? So just look how this bigot is allowed to spew her hatred on this platform, on this news platform.
So we got together and started challenging police leaders, basically, in our force and others, which obviously made us very unpopular.
Well, you are scum.
Part of that in force was to put comments on the intranet under relevant articles, things like the power of pronouns and various sort of inspirational training.
Notice it's a very right-wing talking points. What do the guys say over and over again in the pro-male collective? Feminism is a far-right hate group. They're far-right. Because far-righters always talk about facts when they have to deal with certain cases, in the case of trans women, right? All of a sudden, well, they're all about facts, right?
Articles which told us that we must...
there are lies about men being rapists. That's all right. But, a man saying that he's female, now we have to deal with facts.
Respect people's...
Their concern about facts is arbitrary.
Identity, and we must accept it if somebody tells us they are the opposite sex to what they are. Exactly.
Yeah, it must be galling to a bigot like you and this bald-headed scum.
Which is what I said. And so this was met with much hostility from the force, and we were basically told we were offensive, we should stop putting these comments on.
Yeah, you are offensive, and you all should have been fired, not just you.
And eventually in January 2024, I was told by my superintendent that...
By the way, guys, women are so enabled in their bigotry. This woman felt perfectly fine comfortable and safe, spewing her hatred, her sexism. That's what it is, sexism in the workplace. Men are the victims of sexism, not women. Men are. You know that expression, chilling effect. You know, the reason why racists keep their mouths closed in the workplace is because there's a chilling effect against their bigotry. It's the very opposite for women. Their bigotry is supported and enabled and encouraged.
My comments on the internet were very offensive, and as a result, he was reporting me to professional standards. And he also banned me from putting any more comments on the internet.
Using the internet without...
There you go. This is all free speech stuff too, right? What do right-wingers do, guys? They talk about free speech when they're shut down. But these same hypocrites will definitely shut down anyone else that they don't want to hear, right? Case in point, how many times has one of us pro-male collective guys put something important, posted something important about men's rights, and then had it taken down, right? Our free speech was not accepted, right? Now, I don't think I'll go any further. There's more of this disgusting interview from this disgusting bigot, right? And like I said, some guy who's a bigot, he's just discarded from society. He's ostracized. But these female bigots, they get on national television. And by the way, GB News, you're a disgrace. Okay, we'll end it here.